it's Peyton
and Christina
from Tea Talk Podcast. If we got this idea of doing podcasts by Ron Mango, if you've not heard or seen her before, I would definitely go check her out on YouTube. And today we're going to be explaining the case of Sarah Boone and George Torres Jr.
Sarah was a 42-year-old Florida woman. Her and George, I keep forgetting his name. Her and George had a domestic violence relationship that got really bad. When she drinks wine, because if she drinks like actual alcohol, she'll drink enough to where the point she passes out because she will not stop. She's a very bad liar.
Okay, and then George Torres Jr. is a 42-year-old man who's always lived in Winter Park, Florida his whole life. He died on February 24th, 2020 at 11 p.m. due to suffocation in a suitcase. Before his death, he was arrested multiple times for domestic violence, battery, and even strangulation. He used strangulation on Sarah and multiple of his past relationships. He was also a very bad alcoholic and a bad smoker, which Sarah did try to help him get out of these two bad habits, because yes, she smoked, and yes, she would drink wine as a casual dinner drink or once in a while, but she was never an alcoholic. And she did smoke, again, like I said, but she wasn't bad to the point where she was smoking every 30 minutes like he did, which obviously we don't know if he smoked that much, but still. So she tried to break him of these habits, but whenever she would speak up to him and be like, hey, this is not good, if he heard something that he didn't want to hear, they would get into this domestic violence relationship again and again.
Sarah would, whenever they would get into a physical altercation or an argument, she would fight at him, or he would fight at her, and then one of them to get hurt mentally and physically, whether it was strangulation,
abuse,
or abuse, or just hit with something off the wall. You never know. She really loved arts and crafts, and she drank wine with it, and like she said, a casual dinner drink, like an elegant dinner drink, and they both loved painting, but Sarah loved painting a lot, and she used to be a really heavy smoker, but then she slowly calmed down to not smoking that much as she used to.
Sarah also drank wine as a casual dinner and did these arts and crafts, so she wouldn't become more of an alcoholic and more of a smoker than like George. Sarah and George always had a toxic relationship with each other, but later, whenever we get more into the video, you will tell that yes, even though Sarah did these things, that she really did love him. They loved each other. Yes, they got violent with each other, and yes, they hurt each other very bad, but that was alcohol and miscommunication. If you don't communicate with your partner, you won't do good in life with each other. And so, due to miscommunication, violence, alcohol, smoking even, they got into so many fights where they just couldn't handle it anymore. So yes, they love each other, they just weren't communicating right.
That's what happens in most domestic violence relationships. If anybody's in a domestic violent relationship, they should speak out or try to get help.
And it isn't just domestic violence relationships. Any relationship, if you guys don't tell each other daily that you guys love each other, and you guys don't show that you love each other, and you guys keep miscommunicating with each other,
or fighting,
or fighting, or abusing each other, or one or the other, or even both of you keep pounding alcoholic drinks, then that is going to help your relationship. If you are having troubles in your relationship, there's so many things that can help you. A friend, family members, even multiple videos on YouTube. There's also therapies that you can go to help each other have a stronger bond. And on top of that, you guys can't, whenever you guys get married, or whenever you are in a relationship with someone, you can't grow to be two halves into one and grow as that one. You guys have to first learn how to take care of yourselves and be your own individual person, and then help building that relationship. Because if you don't know who you are and you try to emerge with them, it isn't gonna work.
Yeah. If you're in a domestic violence relationship or something like that, you can always talk to somebody, and hitting and abuse is not real love. It might break your heart, but it's not real love.
Okay. Now I think we should probably get into what happened with the George and Sarah case. Okay, so you want me to start?
You go first.
Alright, so basically, again, with the art, we're bringing about arts and crafts and wine. So George and Sarah were doing arts and crafts and drinking a little bit of wine. during, let's say, dinner or whatever, and they went outside to take a little smoke break for George. And of course, Sarah went out there with him. I mean, they're a couple. You know, that's what any reasonable couple would do. And so that led to hide and seek, which Sarah agreed to.
Sarah proceeded by about to go count, but then he wanted to hide in a suitcase because they were selling her son's clothes, and so the suitcase was out of the closet. So he wanted to hide in there. So he told her to zip it up for him because he joked with her. So she joked back by zipping it up. Went upstairs to go count in the shower supposedly, and came back out and acted like she never knew where he was, acting like a little child when you know where they are.
Later on, whenever the police were investigating her, and they were like, there's no way you didn't know that he wasn't in that suitcase. And she was explaining, like, it was just all a joke, and then she was blaming it on amnesia and saying that she was totally forgot it and that she went up to bed. But before she went to bed, she was recording him saying, Sarah, help me, Sarah, I can't breathe, I'm not kidding, like, help me, Sarah, please, help me. And she just sat there and laughed.
She repeatedly sat there and laughed and said, no, this is what you deserve because of what you've done to me for all the domestic abuse and cheating on me.
And, yes, just if somebody is cheating on you and, like, abuse, and you really love them, you guys shouldn't just go your separate ways. But, immediately, the first one. But, they didn't, the thing is, they didn't try therapy. They didn't break up. They didn't leave each other. They just stuck with each other, and she just let these things happen. So her sitting there saying, well, this is what you've done to me, is kind of her own fault, because she could have done something to help and prevent that from happening, him cheating, because obviously people shouldn't cheat. But if they're cheating, then they are too afraid to tell you that how they really feel, and because they think they're going to hurt you, or they think that, or they're just losing interest and they're afraid to tell you. So she kind of led that to herself, because he did not want to tell her how they really felt, because they really did love each other, even if they were in a domestic violence relationship.
Sarah blamed it on her amnesia to the cops and said she was so tired that she went to bed at almost 1 in the morning, 10 minutes before 1 in the morning, so 12:50 a.m.
Yeah. She woke up the next day, and she looked at the suitcase, and she was like, oh, he's still in there. And so she opened it up, and she said that his face was purple, and that his mouth was running in blood, which, again, later on to the cops, when they were investigating her, she said that it was because of a disease where blood versus,
blood vessels.
Yeah, blood vessels pop. And she also said that the reason he was stuck in there is because the zipper was broke. But she said that the paperclip was that they put a paperclip on the inside. But if you really think about it, zippers on the inside are flat metal. So there's no way of her being able to say that truly. And if the zipper was broke, then how would they get in there to let him get in there? You know what I mean? And she also blamed it on the reason he died is a heart attack or a seizure.
When she called the cops, he said he's already dead, and they were like, "What do you mean? Try to give him CPR." She was like, "No, he's dead," and that kept leading them, the firefighters and the cops, to say, "Give him CPR," and she's like, "Fine, but I know he's dead." Which, if she didn't have anything to do with it, and she just randomly fell asleep after getting drunk, and was confused when she woke up, like, "Oh, he's still there." That doesn't lead to why she would say, "Oh my gosh, he's dead, I'm not giving him CPR." Yeah. Later they said give him CPR. She ended up giving him CPR, which there was no red marks or anything on her hands or his chest.
Whenever you're giving someone CPR, if they're dead or alive, you're going to be out of breath, because 1 minute of CPR is a full workout video. It is like a full 3-minute workout video, and if you do a 3-minute workout video, even if it's just cardio or something, you're going to be out of breath. And she was never panting. She was talking normal. She was almost calm,
and her heart rate was steady the whole time.
Her heartbeat was steady, and whenever they got there, she was so nonchalant, and she kept saying, "I need my Dr. Pepper. Can I get my Dr. Pepper?" And then Dr. Pepper led to water, and she kept saying that she had cotton mouth, and stuff like that. So she was thirsty. Eventually, this thirst that she had went to, I need my cigarette. Can I just have one cigarette? Can you please let me go inside and get a cigarette, sorry. And they basically said that what certain people believe is that the only reason she would go in there is to delete videos or
the video that's been posted online.
Yes, the video or other videos that maybe not nobody knows about, or really anything that could say that, hey, I killed him.
Yeah. The cops kept questioning her and stuff like that, but if you wanted Dr. Pepper to a water, and the cops said we might get you a water, but never ended up giving her water, which I wouldn't. But she's like, can I go get my Dr. Pepper? Can I go get my Dr. Pepper? Can I go get my water? I have bad cotton mouth right now. And they were like, no, because that could be involved in the murder, which other people also think that it was involved, that she wanted to get on her phone and delete the videos that she had from her phone. And they never let her in. And then she said she wanted to smoke a cigarette, which basically, if your mouth is dry, you wouldn't want to smoke a cigarette because that makes your mouth more dry because it's smoke and you're sucking in, so you wouldn't have,
Yeah. There was multiple reasons. Like, a lot of people think that, a lot of people think that she wanted to go inside to get multiple things, and a lot of people are saying stuff like that, but I think it really, yes, I agree with them, but I also think that she was trying to save time. Because if you really think about it, they're investigating, and the more that she would just sit there, she was just sitting there nonchalantly, like nothing ever happened, just a normal day. She even saw her property manager. She was like, "Hey, there's my property manager. Should I go tell him what happened?" And she said nonchalantly. And if your loved one passed away, even if you killed them, you would be teared up. You'd be sad. And she was calm. She was acting like this has happened a million times, which it has not. And so she eventually dived under the cop tape.
Oh yeah.
The caution tape. She dove under and stuck her head under the faucet to get water. And this is a weird act, but she kept saying stuff about her son, about the property manager, about her wanting to smoke a cigarette. And I think she was just trying to save time. Don't you agree with me?
Yeah, and then when they took her into questioning about what happened, she kept bringing herself up and not the husband. She was like, yeah, but he did this to me and stuff like that. She kept bringing up her and her son. We're not going to say any names at all because we're not even going to make up a fake name, but because he's younger than 18, so we're not going to do that. But she kept bringing up herself, but not wanting to talk, and they were getting kind of irritated a little bit because she kept bringing up her and not what they were talking about, kept changing the subject.
Along with what Christina was saying, is she was also, not only did she bring up everything about herself, not even about her husband or her fiance or whatever he was to her romantic other, or George. Instead of talking about George, or instead of talking about what happened before, after, while they were playing hide and seek, or while all this started, before any of that, she went back to a month whenever they were questioning her, how have you guys gone to a fight recently? And she was like, oh, no, we're good, everything's good. And then she went all the way back to a month ago, and they were like, okay, well, when it was the last time you guys were violent with each other? And they were like, oh, about a month ago, he hit me with a curtain rod, and I got a cut on my forehead.
A slit. Yeah,
a big slit on her forehead. And so it was kind of weird to me and to my partner that she, instead of bringing about what happened now and what's happening, kind of, or something like that, then she brought up something that happened a month ago, which we got all this from. We got a lot of this from Ron Mango and some other things we researched. But in Ron Mango's video, she said something about how a lot of things that Sarah did to George, which of course George violated Sarah in multiple ways, but a lot of times it was Sarah violating George. And they said that George barely even called the cops. And they said that Sarah barely called the cops too. So if they were violent with each other and they kept abusing each other and being toxic towards each other, then and they didn't even call the cops, then that kind of confused me.
She said she would call the cops sometimes whenever George was being violent to her, but whenever she was being violent to George, George would never call the cops, but George would get seriously injured.
And whenever she did bring up this curtain rod incident, like about a month before this, the cops didn't seem to even know. And I feel like if they would have told them about this, then George or Sarah, whatever happened, one of them would have gotten something. And so them not even telling the cops of this, and the cops thinking oh well, what do you mean? Which they didn't ask for that. The cops didn't really mind it that much because they got into another fight and they've gone into multiple fights before. But the cops not knowing about all these little things that they did, these toxic things, is kind of crazy to me.
She said she had a big old what's it called?
Scar?
No, not a scar.
Slit.
She had a big old slit, and if she had a big old slit the month before, it wouldn't be fully healed, or there would be a big scar there. And from what we've heard, there was no medical bills or anything of her doing that or calling the cops, which it still would have been there if it was a huge slit in your forehead. That slit just doesn't go away in a month.
Yeah. And a few things that we've kind of dug into is that George and so Sarah had a son, obviously, but we didn't know if it was George's or her ex-husband. But what's weird is that Sarah, the next morning, the first person she called was her ex-husband. Not the cops, not the fire department, not even a hospital nearby. Her ex-husband. And so her ex-husband was waiting there whenever the cops showed up. They questioned her ex-husband, and he told her a few things that she never really got. So states that she never really got. So Sarah told the cops that she never got drunk, but her ex-husband, which they would have believed her ex-husband over her. That her ex-husband said that she it's not that she got drunk all the time. Is that one would lead to not being able to stop until she would pass out. And but he never really said that she was a bad smoker or anything. But we know that she was a bad smoker at some point, and then slowly stopped.
Really bad. Sadly, George Torres Jr. was pronounced dead, right when they got there because he wasn't responding, he wasn't breathing. His heartbeat hasn't been there for hours, and well, they're ambulance people, so they can obviously tell because they've been in medical for a long time, or even if they just got in there, they can definitely see. He was pronounced dead at basically as soon as they got there.
Yeah.
He died. They were both 42. He died at a young age of 42 years old by being suffocated and strangled.
Yeah. Also, what earlier we said that they found him purple with blood running out of his mouth, and he had been in the suitcase and been passed for a while for his face to be completely purple and to be that much blood running out of his mouth. And so we believe that if they didn't go to bed, that if she didn't go to bed till almost 1, that even though that he was put into this that he was probably put into the suitcase February 24th of 2020, but he wasn't found dead until February 25th of 2020, and so because he was in there overnight, and so he probably died on February 25th, and all this started February 24th.
Well, I think it was. Wait, never mind. No, he was pronounced dead February 24th, so he died.
No, he was pronounced dead February 25th. This all started February 24th.
Oh, and also in the videos you can look them up or go on social media or news things. You can look from the cop's view. If she was so drunk that night, if you get drunk, you have a hangover or something like that. She didn't look like she had a hangover at all, so she just looked like she went to bed.
And if she would have had a hangover, which obviously she couldn't give this of just wine. If you drank 3 bottles of wine, then
you drink a lot.
You can get tipsy, and they drank a lot. Well, supposedly they drank a lot, and she wasn't usually you will have a bad headache. You might have you might have something. You might be sick. You know what I mean? You might have a fever. She had none of that. It looked like she had a peaceful night of sleep.
Yeah, it looks like she wasn't even tired, and they came out there at 7, but then she was trying to it's crazy because she kept trying to get away from the subject. You didn't just kill your husband and you have it on video, and you didn't even call the cops first. You called your ex-husband and then waited and said, no, he's dead. I can't do nothing. I'm not doing nothing.
Along with that, they said that, like, whenever she called, like, she was telling him that they're dead, that she's dead. But if you walked down and you were like, oh, like, there's somebody dead in this suitcase, you wouldn't wait and call your ex-husband and then wait a little bit longer and then call the cops. You'd call the cops right away, even if you did it yourself. Or you would hide the body. She didn't do any of that. She called the cops and she played victim. And you could tell that what Christina said, a bad liar. She was blaming it on water, cigarettes, getting drunk, saving him, playing hide and seek, forgetting amnesia. She blamed it on all these things. She blamed it on the whole world, basically. And then she kept getting away from the subject like cigarettes, Dr. Pepper, property manager, cottonmouth, all these things. She kept getting away from the subject.
And she said she was joking, supposedly, but she never brought the broken zipper into the case until they asked her the second time. And her story keeps on changing and changing to the cops.
Yeah, she kept changing her story. She probably changed her story about 15 times.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of times. And what's really funny is that she blamed the zipper as broken, and she said that she left a hole for him to breathe. But if he was dead, he obviously couldn't breathe, for one. So that was a lot.
Or to get his fingers out. So
yeah, and so they could obviously tell that she was lying because of that. Like, there wasn't a hole in the suitcase. And whenever they opened up the suitcase, and so she called and she knew she opened up the suitcase. They went in there. The suitcase was already opened. So they automatically knew she lied about the zipper being broken too. So if they already caught her in 2 lies, and maybe even more, before they even got to the point, before they even investigated farther, then they already knew something was up and something was wrong.
Then later, after questioning, she was charged with second-degree murder for the murder of George Torres Jr.
Yeah. So, do you think that's it?
Yeah, it's sad how the world changes, though.
Yeah, just one day they were drinking, having fun with each other, and the next day,
one of them's in jail and one of them's dead.
And of course, 2020 was only 3 years ago, so she is still in jail. We don't really know if she is going to be getting on death penalty. We don't know if she has life in prison. We don't know if she has so many years in prison. We don't really know any of that. But if you guys are still interested in this case, I would definitely look into Raw and Mango, because there could be a few things we're forgetting or that we missed, because she kind of talks a little bit faster and she has so many things. Her video is almost 2 hours long, so it's basically a whole movie.
And it gives you a whole full details about everything.
But yeah, so this was the case of Sarah Boone and George Torres Jr. We hope you enjoyed it.
This is Christina.
And this is Peyton.
And bye.
Bye.